In the shadowed hills of a forgotten land, where the wind howled like a chorus of the damned, there lay a burial mound so old that even the trees seemed to shrink from its presence. It was a low, earthen swell, unmarked by stone or sigil, swallowed by gnarled roots and creeping moss. The villagers in the valley below spoke of it only in whispers, calling it the King's Rest, though none could recall the name of the monarch entombed within. Time had erased his legend, leaving only a vague dread that clung to the air like damp. It began with the boy, Eamon, a shepherd's son with a fool's curiosity. He'd heard the tales, how the mound was cursed, how the earth there pulsed as if alive, but he dismissed them as old wives' nonsense. One fog-choked evening, as the sun bled red into the horizon, he strayed too close. His flock had scattered, and in his search, he stumbled upon the mound. The air grew thick, the silence oppressive, and yet he felt a pull, an unspoken command to approach. His trembling hands brushed the soil, and beneath his fingers, it quivered. That night, the dreams came. A figure loomed in his mind's eye, a skeletal king draped in tattered furs, his crown a jagged circlet of iron and bone. His eyes burned with a sickly yellow glow, and his voice rasped like wind through a crypt. "I am not done," he said. "My kingdom calls." Eamon awoke drenched in sweat, the words echoing in his skull. He told no one, fearing they'd think him mad, but the dreams persisted, growing sharper, more insistent. The king's gaunt hand reached for him, and each night, Eamon felt his own will fraying. Days later, the village began to change. The crops withered overnight, their stalks curling into blackened claws. Livestock sickened, their bleats turning to guttural moans before they fell silent. The river, once clear, ran thick with a reddish silt that stank of iron and decay. The elders muttered of omens, but none dared name the mound. Eamon, hollow-eyed and sleepless, knew the truth. The king was waking, and he was the key. On the seventh night, Eamon vanished. The villagers found his bed empty, his boots gone, and a trail of muddy prints leading into the hills. A search party followed, armed with pitchforks and prayers, but the fog swallowed them whole. Hours later, a single man staggered back, his hair white, his voice a broken sob. "He's free," he gasped before collapsing. The rest were never seen again. At dawn, the mound stood split open, a jagged wound in the earth. From its depths rose the king, no longer a dream but a towering figure of bone and sinew, his flesh a patchwork of rot and ruin. His crown gleamed dully in the weak light, and his eye swept the valley with a hunger older than death. The ground trembled as he stepped forth, and with each stride, the land twisted to his will. Trees bent into skeletal spires, fields erupted in thorns, and the sky darkened as if mourning its own end. The villagers fled, but there was no escape. The king's voice boomed across the hills, a guttural chant in a tongue long dead, and the earth answered. Forgotten graves cracked open, spilling warriors clad in rusted mail, their hollow sockets glowing with the same yellow fire. They marched in silence, an army of the damned, reclaiming a kingdom that had ceased to exist centuries before. By nightfall, the valley was his. The king sat upon a throne of roots and bones, his skeletal fingers drumming a rhythm that pulsed through the soil. Eamon knelt at his feet, no longer a boy but a vessel, his eyes mirroring the king's unearthly glow. The ancient monarch smiled, a lipless gash of triumph, and whispered, "Mine again." The world beyond the hills remained ignorant, for now. But the wind carried a new sound, a low, relentless hum, and the shadows grew longer each day. The king waited, patient as death, his gaze fixed on the horizon. His kingdom would rise once more, and all would kneel before the mound that could not hold him.